Hello, welcome back. So that's some of the final recording. This old JVC camcorder, because I cannot charge it anymore, because I think the charging plug is damaged. So, but I got other camcorders. So that's my old JVC camcorder from year 2019, but I recorded many thousand hours. No, the charger is damaged. That's the original charger. The cable is a little bit broken, but I did use another cable. I still got it. It's on the floor. It's a mini UPS, this one, but it was super hot. I was charging a few days, then it got super hot. So now it's not working, but I have another one. That's the old Sony Handycam CX2. I got two of this. I'm charging this now. So I got even a spare one. So, but I'm from Denmark. I'm from Denmark, Scandinavian there. So let's read about my old Scandinavian Airlines SAS. SAS have big money problem. They're losing a lot of money. But the Danish state and Swedish state have put a lot of money in SAS many times. Because I think the Danish state and Swedish state still own a lot of stocks. So I will go to my bed and read. And I think I should make a video in my language, Danish, about the SAS or English.
Scandinavian Airlines. Scandinavian Airlines, more commonly known and styled as SAS, is the flag carrier of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. SAS is an abbreviation of the company's full name, Scandinavian Airlines System, or legally Scandinavian Airlines System Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Part of the SAS Group and headquartered at the SAS Fröjundavik office building in Solna, Sweden. The airline operates 180 aircraft to 90 destinations, as of December 2019. The airline's main hub is at Copenhagen Kastrup Airport, with connections to 109 destinations around the world. Stockholm Arlanda Airport, with 106 destinations, is the second largest hub, with Oslo Airport, Gardermoen being the third major hub of SAS. Minor hubs also exist at Bergen Airport, Flesland, Göteborg Landvetter Airport, Stavanger Airport, and Trondheim Airport. SAS Cargo is an independent, wholly owned subsidiary of Scandinavian Airlines, and its main office is at Copenhagen Airport. In 2017, SAS carried 28.6 million passengers, achieving revenues of 40 billion Swedish krona. This makes it the 8th largest airline in Europe and the largest in Denmark and Sweden. The SAS fleet is composed of 124 aircraft consisting of Airbus A319, Airbus A320, Airbus A320neo, Airbus A321LR, Airbus A330, Airbus A350 and Embraer 195 aircraft. SAS also wet leases Airbus A320neo, ATR-72, and Bombardier CRJ-900 aircraft. The airline was founded in 1946 as a consortium to pool the transatlantic operations of Swedish Airlines Svensk Intercontinental Lufttrafik, Norway's Det Norsk Luftfartsselskab and Det Danske Luftfartsselskab of Denmark. The consortium was extended to cover European and domestic cooperation 2 years later. In 1951, all the airlines were merged to create SAS. SAS has been described as an icon of Norwegian-Swedish-Danish cooperation. In 1997, SAS co-founded Star Alliance, the first of the 3 major airline alliances, alongside United Airlines, Air Canada, Lufthansa and Thai Airways International. On the 27th of June, 2018, the Norwegian government announced that it had sold all its shares in SAS. In October 2023, it was announced that Air France KLM, the Danish government and 2 financial firms would be investing in SAS, with Air France KLM taking a 19.9% stake. If approved by regulators, SAS would leave Star Alliance and join SkyTeam. History, edit. Founding, edit. The airline was founded on the 1st of August, 1946, when Svensk Intercontinental Lufttrafik AB, an airline owned by the Swedish Wallenberg family, Det Danska Luftfartsselskabet /S, and Det Norsk Luftfartsselskabet, the flag carriers of Denmark and Norway, formed a partnership to handle the combined air traffic of these 3 Scandinavian countries. The first president of SAS was Per Norlin. On the 17th of September, 1946, operations started under the new entity and the first international service was conducted between Stockholm and New York. Within a half year, SAS set a new record for carrying the heaviest single piece of air cargo across the Atlantic on a scheduled passenger airliner, by shipping a 1,400-pound electrical panel from New York to the Sandvik Company in Sweden. In 1948, the Swedish flag carrier AB Aerotransport joined SAS and quickly coordinated its European operations between both carriers. 3 years later, the companies formally merged to form the SAS consortium. When established, ownership of the airline was divided between SAS Denmark, 28.6%, SAS Norge, 28.6%, and SAS Sverige, 42.8%, all of which were owned 50% by private investors and 50% by their governments. Transpolar route, edit. During 1954, SAS became the first airline to commence scheduled flights on a polar route, flying Douglas DC-6BS from Copenhagen to Los Angeles with stops in Sandra Fjord, now Kangerlussuaq, in Greenland and Winnipeg in Canada. By summer 1956, traffic on the route had justified the frequency to be increased to 3 flights per week. The service proved relatively popular with Hollywood celebrities and members of the film industry, and the route turned out to be a publicity coup for SAS. Thanks to a tariff structure that allowed free transit to other European destinations via Copenhagen, this transpolar route gained increasing popularity with American tourists throughout the 1950s. In 1957, SAS was the first airline to offer a round-the-world service over the North Pole via a second polar route served by Douglas DC-7CS flying from Copenhagen to Tokyo via Anchorage International Airport in Alaska. The flight via Alaska was a compromise solution since the Soviet Union would not allow SAS, among other air carriers, to fly across Siberia between Europe and Japan, and Chinese airspace was also closed. Jet era, edit. In 1959, SAS entered the jet age, having procured a number of French-built Sud Aviation Caravels as the company's first jetliner. During the following year, another jetliner, the Douglas DC-8, was also inducted into the fleet. In addition to modern airliners, SAS also adopted innovative operating practices and systems to improve the customer experience. In 1965, it was the first airline to introduce an electronic reservation system. During 1971, SAS introduced its first Boeing 747 jumbo jet into service. Prior to the delivery of its first 747s, SAS had formed the KSS Maintenance Consortium with KLM and Swissair in 1969 to provide a maintenance pool and standardize aircraft specifications for the three airlines' 747 fleets. The consortium later incorporated UTA and was renamed into KSSU to jointly acquire and maintain McDonnell Douglas DC-10 widebody trijets. In 1982, SAS was recognized as the most punctual airline operating in Europe at that time. During its first decades, the airline built two large hotels in central Copenhagen, SAS Royal Hotel, 5 stars, and the even larger SAS Hotel Scandinavia, 4 stars, with a casino on the 26th floor. In 1980, SAS opened its first hotel outside of Scandinavia, the SAS Kuwait Hotel. By 1989, SAS's hotel division owned a 40% share in the Intercontinental Hotels Group. Following the deregulation of commercial aviation in Europe and the competitive pressures from new rivals, SAS experienced economic difficulties, as did many incumbent flag carrier airlines. This heavily contributed to the airline's decision to sell its hotel chain to the Radisson Hotel Group during 1992. Consolidation, acquisitions, and partnerships, edit. In 1981, Jan Carlton was appointed as the CEO of SAS. During his tenure, the company underwent a successful financial turnaround of the company starting in 1981 and who envisioned SAS ownership of multiple airlines worldwide. SAS gradually acquired control of the domestic markets in all 3 countries. This was achieved by acquiring full or partial control of various competing local airlines, including Braithens and Widerøe in Norway, Lynchflight and Skyways Express in Sweden, and Simba Air in Denmark. During 1989, SAS acquired 18.4% of the Texas Air Corporation, the parent company of Continental Airlines, in a bid to form a global alliance. However, this did not come about and the stake in the Texas Air Corporation was subsequently sold on. During the 1990s, SAS also acquired a 20% stake in British Midland, as well as purchasing 95% of Spanair, the second largest airline in Spain, in addition to Air Greenland. During the early 1990s, SAS unsuccessfully tried to merge itself with KLM, along with Austrian Airlines and Swissair, in a proposed combined entity commonly called Al-Qatar. However, months of negotiations towards this ambitious merger ultimately collapsed due to multiple unsettled issues. This strategic failure heavily contributed to the departure of Carlton that same year and his replacement by Jan Reyners. The airline marked its 50th year of operation on the 1st of August, 1996 with the harmonization and name of SAS's parent company to SAS Danmark/S, SAS Norge/ASA and SAS Sverige AB. During May 1997, SAS became a founding member of the Global Star Alliance network, joining with airlines such as Air Canada, Lufthansa, Thai Airways International, and United Airlines. In June 2001, the ownership structure of SAS was changed, with a holding company being created in which the holdings of the governments changed to Sweden, 21.4%, Norway, 14.3%, and Denmark, 14.3%, while the remaining 50% of shares were publicly held and traded on the stock market. During 2004, SAS was again restructured, being divided into 4 separate companies: SAS Scandinavian Airlines Sverige AB, SAS Scandinavian Airlines Danmark/S, SAS Braithens AS, and SAS Scandinavian International AS. SAS Braithens was rebranded SAS Scandinavian Airlines Norge in 2007. However, during October 2009, the four companies were once again united into one company, named SAS Scandinavian System AB. Restructuring, edit. This section needs to be updated. The reason given is recent crisis and strike. Please help update this article to reflect recent events or newly available information. July 2022. With the growth of budget airlines and decreasing fares in Scandinavia, the business experienced financial hardship. By 2009, competitive pressures had compelled the airline to launch a cost-cutting initiative, in the first step of which, the business sold its stakes in other companies, such as British Midland International, Spanair, and Air Baltic, and began to restructure its operations. During January 2009, an agreement to divest more than 80% of the holdings in Spanair was signed with a Catalan group of investors led by Consorci de Turisme de Barcelona and Catalana de Initiatives. These changes reportedly reduced the airliner's expenses by around 23% between 2008 and 2011. In November 2012, the company came under heavy pressure from its owners and banks to implement even heavier cost-cutting measures as a condition for continued financial support. Negotiations with the respective trade unions took place for more than a week and exceeded the original deadline. In the end, an agreement was reached between SAS and the trade unions that would increase the work time, cutting employees' salaries by between 12 and 20%, along with reductions to the pension and retirement plans. These measures were aimed at keeping the airline as an operating concern. SAS criticized how it handled the negotiations, having reportedly denied facilities to the union delegations. During 2017, SAS announced that it was forming a new airline, Scandinavian Airlines Ireland, operating out of Heathrow Airport and Malaga Airport to fly European routes on its parents' behalf using 9 Airbus A320neos. SAS sought to replace its own aircraft with cheaper ones crewed and based outside Scandinavia to compete better with other airlines. The Swedish Pilots Union expressed its dissatisfaction with the operational structure of the new airline, suggesting it violated the current labor agreements. The Swedish Cabin Crew Union also condemned the new venture and stated that SAS established the airline to not pay decent salaries to cabin crew. In 2018, SAS announced that it had placed an order for 50 Airbus A320neo narrow-body jetliners to facilitate the creation of a single-type fleet. That same year, the Norwegian government divested its stake in the airline. As part of an environmental initiative launched by San Francisco International Airport, SFO, SAS flights operating out of SFO since December 2018 have been supplied with sustainable aviation fuel from Shell and Sky Energy. In July 2021, the European Commission has approved a Swedish and Danish aid measure of approximately $356 million to support SAS. In September 2021, SAS announced that it would establish two operating subsidiaries, SAS Connect and SAS Link, with its existing SAS Ireland subsidiary to be rebranded as the new SAS Connect, while SAS Link would initially operate the airline's Embraer E195 aircraft, and the operations of both companies to begin by early 2022. Following little progress with SAS's restructuring plan, SAS Forward, the Swedish government announced on the 7th of June, 2022 that Sweden, which owns 21.8% of the company, would not inject new capital into SAS and that it did not aim to be a long-term shareholder in the company. The airline filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the United States on the 5th of July 2022. In September 2022, SAS announced it was returning at least 10 aircraft to lessors, including 5 long-haul aircraft, amongst them 2 barely 2-year-old Airbus A350s. This measure is a result of the closure of Russian airspace for flights to Asia,